Number 15, Gabriel C. says, why does God allow children to get cancer and other terminal illnesses? Gabriel, this is challenging for a number of reasons, but I want to challenge you a little bit as well. So I don't know why God allows children to get terminal cancer and other illnesses. And if you just asked me, Mike, you want to snap your fingers and stop all that from happening, I would probably do it in a heartbeat. So this puts us in a frustrating situation. God, you're running the world in a way, and in some ways that are infuriating to us and it hurts our hearts, and even just hearing about it, let alone being a family who's experiencing it. I know Christians who've gone through these kinds of situations, and it's beyond words, the kind of suffering and the kind of pain and the kind of just tiredness of everything and all the stuff. It's beyond words. But here's the challenge. I'll push back a little bit. And I'll say, when we ask God, why are you doing this? Or why aren't you doing that? We are potentially putting ourselves into a place of lack of self-awareness, where I don't recognize that I'm just a human living in this world. I'm this tiny speck of a being trying to challenge how God is running his universe. This is a humility that we desperately need. I mean, it will save us from falling into horrible deception, because anyone can look around and add up the horrific things they see happening in the world and conclude that either God doesn't exist or I don't like him. Anyone can do that if they feel like they have the place to make the proper judgment. So let me give you an example. Me and my wife like watching cooking shows, and we were watching Iron Chef, which I think is a real fun cooking show. And we're watching this show, and one of the complaints about Iron Chef was, I don't think it's still running, or maybe it is, I don't know. We're watching reruns. And one of the complaints about the show was that the judges, you have these incredible chefs cooking, but frequently the judges, it'll be like one or maybe two real food critics who know food, and then it'll be like an actor or like a producer, like some random famous person. And they'll look at the food and they'll judge it poorly. Now the chefs are incredibly skilled and they make it really well. And then I've seen people look at the food and they go, oh, well, it's just kind of weird to me, you know? It just kind of tastes strange to me. Like I haven't had that before, and I don't know, what's this sauce called again? You know, and the thing is they're judging. And this is what struck a lot of people as odd with the show, is that they have these famous people for ratings who are judging expert chefs to see who is the best expert chef in this scenario. I don't blame the famous person for saying yes to go on the show and have a good time, but the producers of the show should have known better. Like somebody should have been like, "Hey, you are not in a place where you're informed enough to make a proper judgment about this issue." And so, what I'm going to suggest is, when I evaluate and look at the world, I'm not in a place to make an informed and right judgment on God, on how he's running things. Not in my knowledge, I don't know enough. Not in my wisdom, I don't understand things well enough, even the things I do know. Right? And not in my perspective, because I'm looking at it from this moment. And I can't tell you how many times in life I've grown out of a difficult season and I look back at it so differently. When I was in the middle, all I wanted was out of it. But I look back, and some of those seasons, I'm glad I went through it, even though it was horrific at the time. It's hard for me to hear myself say that because I've been through some stuff, right? And you have too. Some of that stuff, I look back and I go, gosh, if I could undo that, I don't know that I would. It brought so much character into my life and other things that happened, other goods, even though that was bad. And so what I'm going to say is, we lack perspective. As a Christian, you have one tool that will help you in this. You have multiple tools. One of them is, God has a plan for the future, not just the present. And if you evaluate the present, like the current condition, like say kids getting cancer, like that's the whole story, then you just think this is ad infinitum, right? It's always going to go on this way forever. God, I can't stand that. I can't handle that. I reject that. I reject you. But if you realize that a new heaven and a new earth are coming, this is Christianity. If Christianity is true, a new heaven and a new earth are coming where righteousness dwells. Well, you will see that child that had cancer living in fuller life than they ever even would have had on earth. You'll see them running and playing having relationships, and enjoying the best existence there could be in the new heaven and new earth. And only those who want to be with God and want holiness will be there. It'll be perfect. It'll be wonderful. It'll be holy, and it will last forever. So when you compare that eternal glory to the current suffering, even of, say, a child with cancer, it changes your perspective. So I think I lack the wisdom. I lack the knowledge. I don't really know what's fully going on in the world. I only know the things I'm thinking about right now. I don't really have the wisdom to evaluate those things the way I probably need to. I tend to evaluate with my gut, especially when it comes to suffering. And I don't have the perspective that I will have later when I'm in his presence. And so those things to me change everything. I'll add to this. Christianity has an answer to children who get cancer and terminal illness. Outside of Christianity, what on earth is your answer? I have a hope. I have a hope for them. I believe that children, when they pass, they're going to be in the presence of the Lord, and they're going to live eternally. Enjoy. I have a video on that, by the way, where I think I show you where the Bible teaches that. I have an answer for that. Christians have an answer for these horrific situations of life, whereas outside of that, I don't know what your answer is.